Welcome everybody to Hobby and Chat. This is the Twinnedcoot, and with me today is Age of Nagash. We're going to be talking to you about Age of Sigmar, and I'll probably pepper in a little bit of Warhammer 40k in there too. But welcome to the show, Age of Nagash.
Hi, thank you very much for having me on your channel again, and it will be great to talk about all the changes we've had in the hobby coming up, and in particular Age of Sigmar 2nd edition.
Yeah, it's been an exciting journey we've come, and a lot of stuff in the last few months. Yeah, just a lot of stuff going on. I'll be putting the link to Age of Nagash's channel in the description, and if you're listening to me on Age of Nagash, I am Twinnedcoot. We got Age of Sigmar content, and Age of Nagash has a lot of death content.
Yeah, mainly prioritising death. I'm sort of leaning a little bit now, maybe towards Stormcast, just because it does pay me to say it every time, but I do really quite like him now. But yes, as mentioned, I will add your link to your channel in the description of my video as well, and make sure you check out Twinnedcoot because of all of his really useful war scroll reviews. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is it data sheets? Is it for the 40k?
Right. Yep. It's the data sheets.
Yeah, that's correct. Right. Okay. So let's start with what games we've been playing in the new edition.
Well, let me. Sorry, a second. I was grabbing my books. Let's just do a little bit of pre-stuff. Got some painting and games we've been doing, or at least I have been doing. I've been painting up mostly my Adeptus Mechanicus for 40k because I got another tournament coming up. It's actually a big one this time. It's called Battle for Maryland. Maryland's a state in the east coast of the U.S. It's like a whole team tournament. I'm pretty excited about it. It's 30 people, so it's going to be a GT, I think, technically. So it's teams of 3, and there's pairing going on. You're trying to get the best matchups for your team, but there's roles, and I won't describe the rules for that, but you pair up the teams and then you try to get the best matchups. I'm bringing Admech, my friend is bringing Imperial Knights, and my other friend is bringing Tyranids, so I think got a fairly good chance looking at the competition. And I've been going kind of crazy painting all my Admech. I had quite a bit to do. I was planning on doing my Necrons, which are all painted up, but last minute decided to do Admech, so I have a bunch of stuff to paint, and the painting score is kind of important. So we're all working real hard to get our stuff painted up. I think we're gonna have a good showing in the end, though. I think our armies are gonna look awesome.
Yeah, I mean, as I said to you before, it isn't really a true tournament, is it, if you're not painting up that army the night before the tournament?
You're right.
You can't take a already painted army to a tournament. That just doesn't make any sense, in my honest opinion. That's how I've been doing it, unless I've been doing it wrong. But that does sound like quite a lore rise. I'm not the most knowledgeable on 40k, but is that quite a mixed bag?
Yeah, the Knights and Admech make perfect sense, but then we have like these Tyranid pets, I guess. I don't know.
It's fine, but yeah, it sounds like a good team, and hopefully you'll do well in it.
Yeah, thanks. Other than that, though, I've been doing Age of Sigmar stuff. I got 2 Soul Wars boxes, and I got all the Nighthaunt stuff out of it. And I'm basing them a little different from the rest of my death stuff. I don't know if this is a horrible decision or not, but we'll figure it out after I start painting. But I got a green stuff roller from Green Stuff Works. It's like a rolling pin, and you put green stuff on the base, and then you roll it out, and it makes like a little cobblestone pattern. And it took me forever to do, like the chain rasp hordes, 40 of them, but it looks good in the end. I think it's gonna look really cool after I'm all done. Taking my time with Nighthaunt, I really want to make sure I get the absolute best color scheme I can think of. I don't like seeing color schemes like months later and be like, oh man, I wish I did that. But I'm gonna spend a lot of time thinking about this color scheme to make sure I get the right stuff.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And what you're talking about, the cobble streets and stuff you make with the green stuff. My one of my friends back in my local store has, I believe, he's got exactly the same one as you, and he's got it for his Ironjaw's army he's building. So there's sort of like a rampaging destroyers going through, cities and towns, destroying everything. And imagine your ghost will be doing a similar thing.
Right. Yeah.
With the idea behind that. And yeah, I know what you mean with paint schemes for the Nighthaunts. You want to try and come up with a more sort of original one. I mean, I do really like the green because I think it really pops nice, but for me personally, I've seen it a little bit too much. Not just the green, but I mean, it depends how you do it, I think, doesn't it? You know, if you just use the wash entirely on the model, or just spray the model white and use the wash, um, it can look a bit flat. But if you use, you know, highlights and all that sort of thing to build it up, it can make a big difference. So, what sort of colour did you say you're going for your ones?
Well, my current Nighthaunt stuff, like the just Hex Rakes or Spirit Hosts I have, they are the primed white, and then I washed them with that Waywatcher green, I think it was. Excuse me, and just like dry brushed it with, I think it was Ulthuan gray or something. But yeah, it looks kind of basic and looks like a lot of everybody else's. So it's gonna pain me to repaint this stuff I'm gonna have a lot of trouble matching the bases, because I would like my Nighthaunt stuff to match with my Death stuff, but right now their bases are like swamp as opposed to cobblestone. So I don't know how that's gonna work in the end.
Yes, it's interesting. I mean, like I was saying with the colour scheme, I do really like that, but for me, I can't paint my models how they are on the box and all that. I don't know what it is with me. I just the one model I did paint how it was on the box with Archaon, and that killed me trying to follow a video on how to do it. But with the basing, yeah, I see your dilemma. I did that halfway through a Skaven army where I painted up and based like 60 clan rats, and then I wanted to change their basing, and it was a little bit annoying. I mean, maybe how are you doing your swamp? Is it with like Noble's Rot? Is it, or
No,
is it
I
with
use
water?
Vallejo water texture, and then I put a couple drips of Athonian camo shade in there to make it look all gross, and I just put like little divots in the texture I'm using, the texture stuff. I think that's just I can't remember right now, but it's like a kind of a spackle material.
Yeah, I was going to say with your cobble stuff, I'm sure you already thought of the idea. Don't know if it'll work or not, but if you could maybe make puddles and all that in the stonework, maybe it could be used to try and link the bases together.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think I'm gonna try to experiment with that. I'm also doing, it's not 100% cobblestone. I'm gonna have like dirt overlapping and stuff, so maybe I can make the dirt look more like the swamp bases, so there'll be a kind of transition.
Yeah, that sounds like that would make sense. Because ideally, you want to be able to, mix everything you've got already, don't you, with the new stuff and the old stuff, um, for it all to feed nicely together.
Yeah, yeah, because Legion and Nagash, they can use a lot of the Nighthaunt stuff, and they can really use those chain rasp boards for sure.
Yeah, I mean, can they use? They can use all the Night Haunt stuff, can't they? I
It's
might be
just
wrong, but
Well, it's just the stuff in the Soul Wars box. It's like on the last
right,
page of
okay.
that scenario book. It says you can use just the stuff that came in that box. I guess just because they didn't have a full night, you don't have a full Nighthaunt army, so they're just let you throw in the Night Legion Nagash.
Yeah, that makes sense. But to be fair, with the new Nighthaunt, allegiance abilities and battle traits and command traits and so on, you sort of just want to really run a Nighthaunt army. I think if you want to head down that direction, because some of their stuff is really quite cool and fun to play, I think.
Yeah. So, what about you? You got any painting or game tournaments or games coming up?
So with me, I've been trying to do some of the hobby. So I've been doing some painting. So I painted a my Night Shrouds on his mount probably about 4 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, which was basically me seeing how I was going to test my paint scheme on the Nighthaunt, because I had painted a little bit of Nighthaunt before, but mainly things just like Calm Wraiths and like Spirit Hosts from the Mortarks of Nagash. Um, so it was really interesting to see what it would be like on a full Nighthaunt model. I was really happy how that turned out. It was with like a grey and red scheme using Blood for the Blood God, and I based it the same as the rest of my Death army, just so, like we were saying, they can all sort of fit in nicely together. And so I painted him up, and then I painted my first Stormcast up, which, like again, is a Stormcast, but I don't care. I'm happy with how the paint scheme turned out, and it's a sort of it's three colours the paint scheme. There's a little bit of a fourth colour, which is like a blue one for like crystals, but the paint scheme is a sort of dirty white for the armour. It's got green for half its cloth, and then it's got brown for the other half. And the whole idea behind this is to make it feel a very sort of natural color scheme, not metallic at all, apart from like, the hammer and swords and things like that. So it would fit nicely in with like some Sylvaneth forces, because I do want this Stormcast army to be based in the realm of life. So like I say, for it all to sort of fit in with that nice sort of like natural living theme. And the lore I've got a little bit behind it was there is a city in the realm of life called the Living City, and I can't remember so much about it, but basically Stormcast lived there, Sylvaneth lived there, Wanderers lived there, like free people and dispossessed as well. So if I use that as a base for my like narrative, it can really give me that motivation to add in all these different units from different armies. And the basing for it is the Shattered Dominion bases from Games Workshop, which dry brush them up as stonework, and then I've overlapped it with like flowers and plants and greenery, just to really give that sort of natural look. Which and the reason why I'm saying that in so much detail is just because it's so much different from my how I paint my death, which are really quite grotty and dirty and sinister looking. It's quite nice to have a change in paint scheme, I think. So yeah, that's the hobby I've been doing so far. I've only built and painted 3 models from that Soul Wars box I bought, like I say, about 3 weeks ago now. But it's getting there, slowly but surely. It's getting there. So I've done that, and yeah, that's all the like painting and stuff I have done. I have had a couple of games so far in the new edition, and that was both with Death. So the first one was with the Legion of Night, where I had Manfred and basically a bunch of Death Rattle things, and that was more of a narrative game to kick off the new edition. I had with my friend who was playing Gutbusters, and I did outnumber him with models, but he did have like 9 lead belchers, 9 iron guts, like 3 butchers as well, I believe. So he definitely had the heavy power to smash my little skeleton skulls. But no, it's good fun. And then the next game I had was a Flesh Eater Court game against a Mixed Order army, and that was a match play game, so it was more competitive. And I really do like the changes in the new edition, because my Flesh Eater Courts did very, very well, and it's given me lots of new ideas on different lists for them. So that's about enough for me talking. What about yourself, Blunky?
Well, actually, I was going to ask, what do you use for the Flesh Eater Quartz?
What in the list? Do you mean?
What'd you use in your army?
So I traditionally use the Deadwatch battalion, which is basically a Flesh Eater Court army with completely made out of crypt flares and maybe a Terrorgeist. But I thought in the new edition I would make some changes, because the crypt flares, for example, on a 6 to hit, they do a mortal wound to the enemy, and that is traditionally on a 6+ to hit, so you could modify it to make it a 5+ and so on. But as the new edition points at it having to be a fixed 6, I didn't want to take them and abuse them, because they haven't had their rules updated yet. So I thought I would go with Crypt Horrors, and that's pretty much it. So in that army I had a unit of 6 Crypt Horrors, a unit of 3 Crypt Horrors, 1 Vargolf Courtier, 1 Crypt Haunter Courtier, a Abhorrent Ghoul King on foot, and then 10 ghouls I was planning on summoning on later from a table edge for free in the new edition, with the Abhorrent Ghoul King's command ability, Call to Arms, I believe it's called. So this was just a 1,000 point game, so yeah, it was quite a small game, but for me, it's really outshined how good Crypt Horrors are now. They were always quite good, because they make 3 attacks each, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, no rend, and 2 damage. But if they get a 6 to wound, it's 3 damage. So with the amount of attacks they make, there's a good chance of them being able to do get 6s to wound, and then that would be 3 damage. And it's also helped by, if they're within 15 inches of a Abhorrent Ghoul King, they get to reroll all failed hit rolls, just because. And the Abhorrent Ghoul King's spell, Dark Hunger, means you can pick a Flesh Eater Court unit and they make an extra attack. So this unit of 6 I had, we're making 3 attacks each. We're now making 4 attacks, and because the champion makes an extra attack, it's making 5. So what's that? That's 29 attacks, I believe. on a enemy that I think had a 4-up save, which isn't too bad, but even without rend, every save the enemy failed, it was going to do at least 2 damage. And I've always liked crypt horrors, but my only concern with them is if you fight against a Stormcast army that has the traditional 2-up save with rolling 1 a lot of the time, they just couldn't do any damage through. They doesn't matter how good how high your damage is, if it's like 2 or 3, you're just not breaking a 2-up save with rolling 1. But now that Mystic Shield has changed, so it no longer lets you +1 to your save, but instead reroll a save roll 1. Even if you do fight against like Stormcast armies, it's going to be a lot harder for them to give a unit a 2-up save rerolled in 1, because I believe Staunch Defender has changed a little bit as well. So basically, it doesn't matter too much about Rend and Mortal Wounds anymore. Of course, Rend and Mortal Wounds are going to be excellent, but the trade-off between, for me, Crypt Horrors and Crypt Flares. Crypt Flares are fantastic with their -1 Rend and their doing 1 mortal wound, but they only do 1 damage compared to the Crypt Horrors 2 damage or potentially 3. So I wanted to try them out, and they served me very well. So yeah, I'm very happy with Flesh Eater Courts in the new edition, and in particular with the changes to shooting, just makes them a lot more survivable. And with their ability to call on a small size unit from a board edge by using one of the Ghoul King command abilities, it just gives you that extra tiny unit that's not really going to do anything you summon on, but you can summon on behind the enemy, so that means they can never leave their home, their territory, undefended. So yeah, I think they're a lot more versatile in the new edition, and there's a lot more lists you can make now that can be better than they were. So yeah, like I say, that's me talking about Flesh Eater Courts for a long time, but what games have you had so far then?
Yeah, I've actually I did have 3 games. I remember what my 3rd game was. So far I've played with my Seraphon against Fire Slayers, and then I did a rematch of the same thing, and then I did Nighthaunt against Flesh Eater Courts. So my first game, yeah, and oh man, both Nighthaunt and Seraphon are freaking brutal. So my first game, like I said, it was against Fire Slayers. I took 2 units of 4 Salamanders, some Skinks, 2 Bastillodon, brought 2 Slan Mage Priests, and Astaroth Bear. So you can tell what my strategy is. It's summoning a lot of stuff. My friend was, it was just the first game of 8th, and so we were kind of just messing around, so I was proxying a little bit just so we could see what would happen. And I basically made a line of Skinks in front of my stuff that he charged into first turn, because he had those runes that give him +4 to charge, and then he just dropped right in my face and did that with Hearthguard, no less, or Hearthguard, right? The Earthguard Berserkers. Earthguard Berserkers. Right. They want the flails that do mortal wounds.
Yep, those ones I know.
Those guys are pretty brutal. But yeah, he charged into my line, and I just kept summoning salamanders. I started with 8. I had I think like 15 by the end, and I lost like 6 during the course of the game. So I had so many salamanders, and I'm just like summoning them down, teleporting them around, just shooting out some fire. It was a good game. We got down. It was the one. Is it Duality of Death, where you have to have a character or monster on the objective?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's like 2 objectives in the center, and you need a monster, or a behemoth, or a hero to hold them.
Yeah, so he had. By the way, his Fire Slayer army is just hordes of men. I think it was 90 Duardin and then a couple heroes. But he got on one of the objectives with his Magmadroth and just surrounded it with berserkers, and I just slowly whittled away at the screen, and then I think I had to kill him. Excuse me. I had to kill it because it was gaining too many points, because it's cumulative objective points. So I think I killed it last turn, which was the last model he had. So that was a solid game. The next one, excuse me, I played again with Seraphon against Fire Slayers. Had roughly the same list. I think I swapped out a Bastillodon for the Starseer, the Skink Starseer, and I also added. I was a real mean guy. I brought the Chronomatic Cogs and the Balewind Vortex for my Slan, and the 2 Slans. And so I summoned those 2 endless spells. So now one of my Slans can summon, or can sacrifice 5 spells to summon. The other one's sacrificing 3 spells to summon. First turn, I didn't summon anything. I ended the turn with 24 conjuration points. I can't remember what they're called. Ended up with 24, and then the next turn, I got another huge sum, and so I teleported my Slan on the Balewind. Pretty sure you can do this with the Lords of Space and Time. It just teleports the unit. Either way, I just would have teleported the other Slan. But I teleported the one with the Balewind, and he summoned, and then I also teleported some Skink Handlers, and then I summoned 4 Salamanders in front of him and a Bastiladon, and that just wiped that whole flank just with shooting. So yeah, Seraphon's summoning is oh man, so brutal and disgusting, and just you can get so much shooting out like real quick, and it's hitting that turn. It's not like you're summoning a combat monster and then you have to hope that it makes a charge. Like no, you're summoning it in and you're shooting that turn, and it's Salamanders and Bastiladon just do work.
It means that you're always getting your usage out of it as well. Like you say, you're not trying to summon it and think, oh god, hopefully it charges this turn, otherwise that's a turn wasted. You're actually making use of it the turn you summon it. And like Salamanders, they're not too bad, are they? They're alright, aren't they?
Ooh, I love them.
I have fought them once and they did feel pretty horrendous. What do you say?
Yeah. It's only 1 attack, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, Ren 2 d6 damage. But
how cheap they are as well.
They're 40 points. Oh my god. So yeah, I learned but one more thing about the Salamanders. I put the Astaroth Bearer so they can reroll all hits, that's very important to the strategy. But so I was looking at the points for the summoning, and I learned that one conjuration point is effectively 10 points in the game. So like 6 points will get you excuse me. 6 points will get you a unit of Skinks, which is 60 points. But it also gets you 1 Salamander, which is 40 points. So summoning Salamanders, which in the first game I thought is what you should be doing, just spamming Salamanders, it's actually not that cost effective. Like you're getting effectively less game points for the constellation points, or conjuration points you're doing. But when you go towards the top of that list, you get 24 points for a 280 point Bastiladon. That ratio is a little bit it's skewed the other way. So now you're kind of getting more points for your conjuration points. I wish I had another word than points, but hopefully that wasn't confusing. But you get more bang for your buck with the Bastiladons, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you could always do with more Bastiladons, can't you?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, while the Salamanders are good at taking out, like, you just drop them next to a unit and just destroy it, the Bastiladon can drop down and kill some support characters because you got that 20-inch range.
20-inch range?
Yeah.
With it? Oh, okay, yeah.
With 2d6 attacks.
With 2d6 attack, that means they're not too bothered about maybe that -1's a hit?
Right, yeah. And they're rerolling hits, so that, yeah, they're not worried about that.
Oh, okay, well, that gets rid of that one then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, because Seraphon before, they did have some good lists, didn't they, in tournaments, but it was very few. I mean, you had the Croak Tornado, and then what else did you have?
I think people took 1 or 2 Dreadsaurians. I took 1 Dreadsaurian, had a lot of fun with that. I'm not sure how competitive it was. It was a lot of fun, and it did do work on some lists. But sometimes this Dreadsaurian just gets wiped, and that's all you do. But the Croaknado, yeah, that was very unbalanced. I love Seraphon. I've been playing him for over a decade, but I refuse to touch Croaknado. I also refused to do the warscroll review because I did not want to condone that behavior. But now it's gone. So
well, that's very respectful of you.
Yeah, I'm happy with the Balewind now. I will be using it with my Slans for sure.
Yeah, it's been pulled back just a little bit, hasn't it? I think we'll save many friendships and potentially lives in the future. So that was good. And like I was saying, when we are talking about the Seraphon, it's nice that now, because there's this extra option of summoning. When I mean there's this extra option, I mean you'll be doing it a lot more times than you won't be. Just gives you that many different ways you can build your lists, doesn't it? Just gives you so many more options you can do, and game plans that you don't need to think, oh, I need to build my army in this certain way if I want it to do well,
Yeah,
which is really nice.
yeah, it's fun to also be able to kind of build your army in the heat of things. Like if you need shooting to kill a character, you just summon a Bastildon or whatever, and you get to react on the fly, and it's really powerful.
Well, it's all about having that toolbox, isn't it?
Yeah,
Which summoning used to be like when you had to, even when you had to pay points for it. I know Death Army, sometimes people would take like, even they would only take in a 2,000 point game only like 1,400 points, so then they can summon on an additional 600, depending on what the battle plan was going to be or what army they're fighting. They can really adapt how they're going to personally play out that game with whatever gets thrown at them, which is nice. You can do that with the Seraphon now and not have to pay points for it. More
yeah.
like real army building points.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with the end times, Warhammer Fantasy. Towards the end, I picked up a Death Army in the end times. That's when I started my Death Army, and I just all of a sudden just like bought basically every Death model because I wanted to be able to summon anything I wanted, and I had a lot of fun like creating my list, and then I would make a side list of like the things I could summon. Like if I need anti horde, I would summon this set of things, or if I needed anti like elite troops, I would summon this set of things. It was a lot of fun to just create different scenarios and just what if you needed this, and is this cool creating those situations.
Yeah, which is nice. I mean, the Fleshier Courts, they can't do it to that extent, but now they've got being able to use a Apparent Ghoul King's command ability once per game for each Apparent Ghoul King you have. It no longer means that you've got to think, oh, I've got to have something I can outflank the enemy with when I deploy on the table. No, you can just summon on 10 ghouls later, or a Var Golf, or 3 crit flares later, to react to what happens in the game. Rather than like building your army before and thinking, right, this army has to work for every single possible battle plan and game I go into. Like you say, you can really sort of adapt to whatever gets thrown at you and build your army when you're in the heat of things.
Yeah, yeah, but Seraphon are just so good, and I do like them a lot. They might be a little bit unbalanced though. It might be a little bit too much. I don't know that Games Workshop was intending for us to take multiple slams and then enhance their spellcasting even more. So I'm casting, or I have effectively 8 spells to cast, which is giving me 3 times 8 each turn, getting 24 points plus the extra stuff. Like, that might be too much. That's a Bastilled a turn. Like, that might be a little bit too much. I'm not sure how to balance that. Maybe instead of the slam getting 3 points per spell, I'll do 2 points. I'm not sure, but I do think it's a little bit unbalanced. Like I tabled my Fire Slayer's friend. It was up until the end I did it, but then the next game we played, I like wiped out his big hordes of men, and he kind of I know he felt kind of disheartened, and he kind of just quit on second turn. And I was like, I mean, that makes sense. It wasn't gonna go any better for you because that whole flank was covered in dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it might be a little bit too much, but I think, like everything, it's just going to be one of those things we're just going to find out later on down the line if it gets changed, edited, and an FAQ. But for the moment, enjoy it.
Yeah, right.
Before it changes.
I do have a complaint to fall on deaf ears for the Seraphon, just because I want to whine about it. My favorite frickin' model in Seraphon, the Skink Starseer. I loved how he played before. I loved there's that little mini game kind of where like you pick a number on the die, and then your opponent picks a number on the die, and then you show them, and then like if you got a different number, then you get that many rerolls. But if they pick the number, they get that many rerolls. Like that was. I don't like a lot of those like silly little rolls like Cetra's thing where you had to like not kneel or something like that. I don't like those type of rules, but this one didn't really feel like that kind of thing. Like this felt like it fit in Warhammer, not showing the person the cover of the die, and it was just so much fun. It was like a whole little mini game, like mind game you played with people, and like I always did it with my friends, so I kind of somehow I knew what they were going to choose. It was a lot of fun, and just they took that completely away and they changed it to roll a die at the start of your hero phase, and on a 2-up you get an extra command point. On a 1 your opponent gets a command point. Like, that's kind of boring. And Seraphon really don't care about command points as far as I can tell. Like, I don't care about my command abilities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that. You just told me that, and that does make me quite annoyed. I mean, like, I don't have a Seraphon army, but I was thinking about doing one. But yeah, it was like you say, it was one of those fun things, and it's just been changed to something now where it's like, I can imagine the first time you use it, you'll roll a 1 and you'll give your enemy a command point. Like, I'm not saying, you know, the risk before wasn't there, but I mean, the reward was so cool. But now it's just like an extra command point. And command points are good, obviously in the new edition, but it's not that mini game you had before. Like you said, it's just going to be one of those things that's quickly resolved at the start of the turn, or the, you know, in the hero phase, and that's it, and that's gone. And then, what's the other reasons to bring the stars here? Is there?
No, there isn't another reason to. I mean, his spell is good, but it's kind of to me it was kind of an afterthought after the rerolls. Like the rerolls were good, and maybe that was the problem. The rerolls were too good, but I don't know. I mean, 140k has that reroll mechanic, and I don't think it breaks the game or anything. It just kind of gives you a little bit of a boost.
Yeah. Or you can be Zeech and just pick your dice and not even have to roll it.
Right. Yeah, it's no Destiny dice. Like, come on.
No. Yeah, it's. I think maybe it was just one of those things where I don't know anyone who personally did it, and I'm not saying people do, but maybe people complained about it. You know, maybe people were really unlucky and they always presumed their opponent wasn't gonna choose a 6, you know, to have 6 rerolls, and they always did, and then this guy always got, you know, played against the game and the enemy always got 6 rerolls. But I don't know. I think it was. I don't know. I would go to say it's harmless, but there's plenty of other nasty things out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a reason for me not to take the star. You know, Seer, if I had one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's that little cool thing gone now.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to take him anymore. He's 200 points. Like, I don't see the point of it anymore.
He's 200 points.
Yeah.
You get a Lord Sergeant on Draco for 20 more points than that, and he is horrendous.
Yeah, you can spend a few more points in your. I think it's 60 points, but you can get a Slan now. Like, no, thank you.
I bet his attacks were pretty good though. Were they a D3 damage one? Were they?
The Starseer.
Yep.
He has one attack. I have no idea what it does. It's just one of those.
It's going to be one attack, hits on a 4, wins on a 3, -1 red, and D3 damage guaranteed, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Probably. That wizard attack.
Yep. That never hits.
Yeah. Okay, so that was Seraphon. The last game I played was Nighthaunt, and that was a lot of fun. Nighthaunt is a very good army. It synergizes really well together. I gave myself a advantage inadvertently because we weren't playing on a normal game table. I had to set up a table on some other. We were playing a game store that was full, and I had to just set a table up somewhere, and so I could only find a 4x4. So my army was able to compress itself much more than maybe it would have otherwise. I'm not sure. But I basically just surrounded my support characters and just buffed them the whole time. So I basically just brought what I had. It wasn't anything crazy. It was 40 chain. It was basically the 2 Soul Wars boxes combined with Nighthaunt. I had 40 chain gas. I did bring 12 spirit hosts, 2 units of Glaive Ray Stalkers, the Knight of Shrouds on horse. Night Shroud's off a horse, Spirit Torment, Guardian of Souls, Vampire Lord. Vampire Lord is really good, and also the Murmorn Banshees. Oh my god, they're so brutal. I remember looking at their scroll when they first came out. I was like, oh man, I'm really pumped for the Murmorn Banshees. They look so cool. And then I saw the war scroll. I was like, oh, that's it? Okay, well that's boring. But when I got the book, I started thinking like, what if I took 12 Murmorns? What would happen? What would my strategy be? So let me just tell you about the Murmorns. It's 80 points for 4 of them. They have 1 attack. It hits on 4s, wounds on 3s. Ren 2 D3 damage. So like at first you look at it, it's like, wow, that's a really good attack, but it's only 1 of them. So you're like, I don't think I want to spend 80 points for 4 of those attacks. But then there's multiple ways to get multiple or extra attacks. So I took the Vampire Lord, I took the Knight of Shrouds on horse. I took the Knight of Shrouds off horse, like I said, but I didn't end up using it. And then I came to the game with 2 extra command points, and then I started on first turn with a 3rd one. So I used I had used that 3rd command point to reroll a charge because I rolled 2 1s when I needed a 3, of course. But the Banshees, they charged into a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. Sorry, I was playing Flesh Eater Courts. They charged into a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, just surrounded it. I pumped him up to 3 attacks with the Vampire Lord and the Knight of Shrouds on Steed, and they just decimated it, like just absolutely destroyed it. And then the next turn, he charged in a horde of 20 ghouls and then 3 flayers that he summoned with the Ghoul King. And they just sat there. They, in this situation, I did have a Triumph to let me reroll save rolls, so that absolutely saved me in that specific situation. But he hit me with the ghouls. I rerolled my saves and saved quite a few of them. And then I hit back and destroyed the flayers, destroyed the ghouls at the same time. Because one thing to note is the Knight of Shrouds on Steed, his command ability, it only works in that combat phase, so it's kind of meh. But the Vampire Lord's command ability works from hero phase to hero phase. So I had that ability still off, so they had 2 attacks still, and they had their 12 models. And they just crushed those ghouls and flayers. And then what did they do after that? Then they moved up to another horde of ghouls. It was 40 of them. And I underestimated the ghouls, and I didn't put all my command points into giving them 3 attacks. So I gave him like a 2 attacks, and they didn't quite kill the ghouls, and then he healed a bunch back. And then the next turn I put in more attacks, and then I killed him. But they also killed a Crypt Courtier. And so it's only 12 models. It's a 4-up save. It's the ethereal save. So you'd think it would die really quickly. But you put the Spirit Torment near there, which D3 models coming back doesn't sound like much. It's at the beginning of the Battle Shock phase, of both Battle Shock phases. So it's actually pretty bonkers. So you get D3 back each in your phase and the opponent's turn. In the before the Battle Shock, so you kind of get this little buffer against a bad Battle Shock test with the Spirit of Torment, or he just heals your models back. So he was doing that. And then I was saving a point for Insane Bravery just to make sure I didn't lose anything else. And then the Guardian Souls or whoever, the Vampire Lord is also good because he has Deathly Invocation for another free D3, free D3 models back, and. So I just kept healing the Murmur and Banshees back. It was just really easy. There was only 1 wound, so it's just super easy to bring them back. And I think I ended the game with them having 12 models, even though they kept getting hit by stuff. But yeah, I just kept healing them back. And the Vampire Lord and the Murmur and Banshees combined, I think that's a really, really good combo.
Yeah, by the sounds of things as well. I was always a bit unsure about those Banshees because, like you, first time I read the War Scroll, I was like, yeah, the attack's quite nice, but there's only 1 of them. And then when you read the ways for them to gain more attacks, it's like, is it if they unbind a endless spell, they take D3 mortal wounds, but they get an extra attack? Is that correct?
Yeah, I should have said that too. They have 2 abilities. One of them is if they unbind a spell in your opponent's phase, they get an extra attack. Until your hero phase, and then also in your turn you can dispel an endless spell and you get an extra attack, but you take D3 mortals back. So what I did was I feel like it was ingenious, but whatever. So in the terrain we were playing had 2 buildings kind of in the middle, and then there was like this alleyway in the middle between the 2 buildings, and he had his ghouls there. I had my chain ghasts. They're just kind of horde on horde action right there, just kind of just hitting. They're just they're both just
grinding their way through each other.
Yeah, and then they would just heal each other back or heal themselves back, and it was just going nowhere. I let half of my chain gas die on one side so that it would open up one side, and then he had his horrors move up, and they were about to charge my chain gas, which 6 horrors, they're going to finish the chain gas. They're obviously going to kill all my screen I had right there. So what I did was I summoned a prismatic palisade right in between those buildings, and the horrors were stuck. They could not move. And in that same turn, I killed his only wizard with my Murmurns. Like, I specifically targeted his wizard, so he couldn't dispel the endless spell. So the wall was in his way. He couldn't do anything about it. And then the next turn, I dispelled it myself with the banshees, and then charged them in, gave them an extra attack, or gave them 2 extra attacks. So they had 4 attacks. They took the D3 mortals. I didn't care. I just healed them right back. I healed them back in that same phase. They charged him with 4 attacks each and just destroyed everything. Oh my god. So awesome.
And with that -2 rend.
Oh yeah, they don't get a save.
As a fleshy orc player, I can tell you.
Right.
That's big trouble.
Right, I was like, I would do my damage, and then I would be like, all right, take your saves. You're like, I don't have a save. I was like, oh right, I just rolled my damage. I was like, all right, it was 6 wounds. Now it's 13 because I rolled well in the damage. It was just crazy stuff like that. It was just Murmurns are so good. Oh man,
The best
so
part
good.
with things like that as well, it's like when the opponent goes, okay, so that's 6 damage, and you go, no, it's D3 actually.
Right.
And then you roll those dice. But yeah, they sound so good. Like I said, what I was worried about is like, oh, you take D3 mortal wounds, and then they've only got 1 wound apiece, so you might on a unit of, if you had a unit of 4 of them and you take D3 mortal wounds, 3 might die and you're left with 1 and he gets an extra attack. But as you said it, you can heal them back so easily because they've got that 1 wound. And like you're saying in the battle shock phase, that's when you bring these models back. It's not like in your hero phase. In the battle shock phase, it's twice in every battle round.
Yeah.
So that is, what's that? Potentially 10 times a game.
Oof. Yeah.
It's a huge amount.
And being able to heal, I mean, like you're saying, in the battle shock and the hero phase, like you get 2 different places at the beginning of your turn and the end of your turn to heal, and it makes up for, like, when you take the D3 mortal wounds, and oh my god, Murmurns hate mortal wounds, but healing them back. And I cannot stress enough how good the Vampire Lord is in Nighthaunt because of his command ability. It's better than the Knight of Shrouds on Steed, so I don't know if they're going to change it, but it's outright better than it right now. And then he has Deathly Invocation for 3 units to heal back D3 models, which in a Nighthaunt force, that's really good.
Yeah, that is really, really good. And it goes to show, because like originally I would have thought Nighthaunt, they didn't really need any allies. They're very set up how they are, as they are a brand new army of lots of synergies. But just adding that extra Vampire Lord in there for, like you say, giving that unit an extra attack, it's huge. And the hero could use his command ability more than once in the same turn, can't he? If he's got enough command points to do so.
Oh.
Is that how it works?
Oh my god, right.
I think that is. I might be, if I am wrong, please let us know in the comments and stuff, but I think I remember hearing that you can use it multiple times as long as you've got the command point.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, it depends on how the wording is for the Vampire Lord, but if that's true, I don't even need the Knight of Shrouds on Steed.
No, just chuck them away. Chuck them out.
Oh my gosh. I already took out the Knight of Shrouds off of Steed because I never had enough command points. Because my plan was to do +1 to hit and then +2 attacks, which is kind of overkill, make them hit on 3s. But also, there's a couple other synergies in there that I forgot to mention. The Spirit Torment, not only does he heal, he rerolls 1s to hit, which on the Banshees hitting on 4s, and actually most Nighthaunt hits on 4s, so rerolling 1s to hit it's pretty important and helps out a lot. And then the Guardian of Souls being +1 to wound, then the Murmurns were wounding on 2s, so they're hitting on 4s, reroll 1s, wounding on 2s, Ren 2, D3 damage, with like 3 or 4 attacks, and they're just disgusting.
Disgusting in a good way, though, depending on what side of the table you're on. But yeah, that's so good. It's like we're saying about Knight of Shroud, like, you don't really need him because the Vampire Lord can do a better job, but he is a nice model, though, isn't he, the Knight of Shroud?
Yeah.
compared to well, I've made my own vampire on a horse, but compared to some of the models out there, maybe a conversion could be done. That's one thing I'm disappointed over the Night Shroud is the horse's attacks. It's a very big horse, and its attacks are not great.
Oh yeah, you'd think they'd be a little bit better than kind of a
Than the
regular
standard.
horse. Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately.
yeah. But yeah, throwing that, I threw in the prismatic palisade, A, because I had extra points, but B, because it's good. It's just a really well-rounded piece. Like just throwing a wall in front of shooting or a incoming charge, like it's really helpful. But also it's a really low casting value, so the Murmorns can easily dispel it in their turn when I need to get that extra attack. So that's why another reason why I took the Palisade, because I think it's a casting value of 5 or something. So it was really easy to dispel. And also the Murmorns, when you have 12 of them, they're +3 to unbind. So like, yeah, go ahead and cast your spell. They're not gonna get off. The Murmorns are just gonna get. You're just gonna power up a Murmorn Banshee unit, and you're not gonna get your spell off because I'm +3.
That's crazy, isn't it? And it just shows because, like you say, you've got 12 of them. So I think like originally when I first looked at them, it's like what's their value as a unit of 4, but compared to what their value is as a unit as 12. I mean, how many points is it for 12 of them?
It's 280.
I mean, that is
240. Yeah, 240. Sorry, but that's
that
kind of a lot.
It is a lot, but by the sounds of things, if you put the abilities in the right places and you properly, buff them up, they are more than worth their points.
Yeah.
Are they have a 4-up save, and they obviously ethereal, so don't take any rend. Is that correct?
Yep, and they have the 8-inch movement, and that was another thing. I had the pendant of the fell wind, and so they're moving 11 inches with fly. So yeah, they were just going wherever they felt like.
Wow, that's not bad at all, is it? And the I suppose you would say they are a bit glass cannony.
Oh yeah.
Because they've got a 4-up save. They don't take any rend, which is really good. And I mean, like I'm sure we can all agree that a whole army that doesn't take any rend is just insane. And they do get their 6-up death save, don't they? Because Nighthaunt still get that.
Yep.
But so I say they're glass cannon, but compared to a lot of other things out there, they're not really, compared to like Daughters of Cain or anything like that. So if they get hit first, they can take it to a certain degree, especially like you say, they can just, bring back those models, the Banshees. But that's the worst case scenario. But the best case scenario is, like you say, you get those attacks in first, and if you buff them up enough, there's not going to be that much that can withstand that damage.
Yeah, they are kind of glass cannons. They have the one wound is what it does it. So mortal wounds they go to, if you can get. I mean, it's not that hard to get about a dozen mortal wounds if you're decent. If you have a decent army to make mortal wounds that produce mortal wounds. But yeah, the mortal wounds just destroy banshees. Another thing is I had Mystic Shield on them, so they're rerolling ones to save. So it pumped them up a little bit. They're a glass cannon, kind of, just because of the wounds, really. Their save is good, and they have some chance to save against mortals, but not really. The mortals are going to kill them.
Right, okay. But at least they can come back. So I'm sure there's some armies out there that have a unit quite similar, and they would complain that they have no way to bring back their models. So
yeah, Saurus Guard. You can still get a 2-up save, I believe. Maybe it's a 3-up. But 3-up rerollable save with them, and they ignore Rend. Or they ignore Rend 1. But yeah, that was their problem. They just take mortal wounds and they're dead, and that's the end of that. So it wasn't really. It's kind. They have their reason situations, but they're not really worth taking sometimes because the mortal wounds just kill them, and that's the end of that. But you can't heal them back. But Murmorns, you can.
yeah, exactly. So it highlights, a strength they have. Oh, the other, and I mean, it is going to be better if they had 2 wounds, obviously. But I suppose if they've only got 1 wound apiece, it's easier to bring them back. I mean, if they had 2 wounds apiece, I mean, they would die less. But at least you're always guaranteed to get at least 1 back.
Right. Yeah. Very good point. Right. Yeah, and I did take all the healing things like Ruler of the Spirit Host, the command trait. That's really good. Yeah, Spirit Torment, Ruler of the Spirit Host, Guardian of Souls, Vampire Lord's Deathly Invocation. So I was healing back like all day long, and just I got him down to, I think he got him down to 4 models at one point, and he was like, "Yeah, I took a huge chunk out of him." I was like, "Oh man, that was kind of brutal." I was worried about my Banshees, and then in my following hero phase, just whoop, but back up to 12.
Yeah, it's and that's just like, you know, one unit out of all the new Nighthaunt stuff.
Mhm.
That's got, you know, has so much potential. So it's really, really nice to see this, because what did we look at about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, before we knew all this Nighthaunt stuff was going to come out? They were not really the same sort of strength, were they, back then, would you say?
Nah, they're real limited, and then the synergies they basically non-existent in the synergy department.
No, it's basically try and get as many pluses to hit for the Spirit Host to make them do more wounds, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now they get like
But
8 different support characters or something like that, and they all do something worthwhile.
yeah, that's the thing. There's not many out there, is there, that you think, oh, I'm never going to take him because he's not really going to add anything to the army. They all do. I mean, even the Lord Executioner, when I first read his War Scroll, I thought he wasn't particularly good because he didn't really add much to the army. But then when I read it again, and he makes a, you know, an enemy hero within 3 inches of him -1 to hit, he's already earned his place in my army, as far as I'm aware, being able to do that, especially on like big behemoth, you know, characters. I don't know, like you look at the big guys like Lord Seraphon on Drake, no, Star Drake, or you know, an Archaon or a Nagash, all these big guys, making them -1 to hit. Yep, he's done his job.
Yeah,
If it does damage, it's a bonus.
yeah. The Lord Executioner does seem like a lot of fun. Uh, he can get up to, I think it's -4 actually, because he has in shooting and combat. So in shooting he's a character, so he's -1, and then in combat against a character he can choose them to be -1. So there's -1 in both cases, and then there's a warlord trait and an artifact to give him another -1 to shooting and then to combat. So then he's -2, and then you can throw the Morngul in there to be -3, and then there's a battalion to give him another -1. So he can be -4, which it's probably not. It's not that great. I mean, it is great, but kind of situational. But still, like, he could be just impossible to hit.
Yeah, like really, really impossible. And also, when you do hit him, you know, he doesn't have the 6-up death save. He actually gets a 5-up death save, which is nice. And then, you know, of course, he's ethereal and he's got a 4-up save.
Yeah.
He's not particularly bad, is he?
Nah, yeah. My opponent though. Or sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, crack on.
Yeah. So my opponent, I do want to talk about Fleshier quick. That was the first time I played against them. They seem like they got a big boost not having to pay for reinforcement points. He took that command trait that lets you use your command ability twice. So he threw his Ghoul King on Terrorgeist up right in my face, and then summoned a unit of Flayers and a unit of Horrors behind me, which if he made the charge in that turn, it would have been bad news for me because I was not screened back there. But he unfortunately failed the charge, but that would have been really bad. I would have lost probably my Spirit of Torment and maybe another character, and he would have sat on my objective, which would have been bad. But I was able to counter event. I was able to move my Chain Gas after that to get in between them. But summoning 2 free units is just, it's awesome. It kind of like doubles his effectiveness. I don't know how many points the Horrors and the Flayers are. I think they're 160 each or something.
Yeah, the Crypt Flares and the Crypt Horrors are 160 points, and then yeah, it's a really nice change, the summoning rules and abilities now. I mean, how it works is that each opponent Ghoul King can use their command ability once, you know, obviously for a command point, and then they can use it. Each Ghoul King can use their command ability for free one time, and when I mean by free, I mean not costing any like, you know, army building points to summon, like 3 Crypt Horrors on or 10 Ghouls, whatever it is. So I don't know if you take the command trait to let you be able to use your command ability twice in one turn. I don't know if you could use it twice for free. I think it might just be a one thing only.
I thought.
But
Oh, okay. I haven't looked at specifically, but I thought it's. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Sorry.
I'd rather it be that way, believe me. And it might be, but when I played it, I didn't do that just because I was unsure. It's just because I haven't got it right in front of me, but it says something along the lines of each Ghoul King can use that ability once in the game for free. But if you're using it twice at the same time, it might count as once. I'm not too sure. But anyway, so that aside, yeah, it's really, really good. And being able to summon, even just 10 ghouls. I mean, I did this in my game I had against the Mixed Order, and I summoned 10 ghouls on just to try and take an objective on the enemy side of the board, and the enemy was guarding it with 10 dryads. And I was going into that battle, and I thought 10 dryads are going to kill my ghouls easily. The ghouls charged in, and the ghouls killed most of the dryads in like one round of attacks. They make 2 attacks each, so that's like 20 attacks, just from a unit of 10 of them. And it didn't wipe them out completely, but it killed them enough for me to take that objective. So to get, in that case, I got I think 3 points for that objective. I can't remember the name of the battle plan, but it was one of the new ones. So yeah, just summoning 10 ghouls there gave me 3 victory points. And then so that's the smallest new way to summon with Flesh Eater Courts. And then the other way, if you summon Crypt Horrors or Crypt Flares, that's a 160 point unit for free. If it's the Flares you summon, sure, they can't move that turn unless they charge, but next turn they can move 12 inches and then they can get around the board pretty quickly. Crypt Horrors, like I was saying earlier, are just really, really tough and really solid in combat. And then if you've got a Abhorrent Ghoul King on a Zombie Dragon in your army, and his command ability lets you bring on a Courtier, you could bring on the Little Ghoul Courtier, the Crypt Flare or Crypt Horror Courtiers, or you can actually bring on a Vargulf. And Vargulfs are really, really nasty and potentially a little bit too cheap for what they can do in the game. They're really good, obviously, for your army. They're probably the best hero in all Flesh Eater Courts, just purely because they can benefit your whole army by bringing back ghouls or Crypt Flares or Crypt Horrors. But also, in combat, they're not particularly bad either. I mean, when I went to a tournament last year, I had my Vargulf, and I try and keep him out of combat because I want to keep him alive so I can keep him bringing back my Crypt Flares at the time. But unfortunately, he got charged by a enemy Carnosaur. And what is it? What's the most powerful Carnosaur? Is it the Scar Veteran? Is it? Or is it the Old Blood?
Old Blood.
The Old Blood charged him, so the nastiest one. Unfortunately, the guy, the Carnosaur, didn't hit very well, so didn't manage to kill the Vargulf. The Vargulf turned around and I think put that Carnosaur on 2 wounds. So I had 2 wounds remaining. The next turn, it killed it, and then like a couple of turns later, it got a little bit too cocky and charged into another Carnosaur on the other side of the table, and it didn't kill it, but it did like do 6 wounds to it, so it did like put its health on half, and it did die at that point, but it was like really, really good. And this guy is only 160 points, and so in combat he's pretty good. I mean, he has 4 attacks. I believe they're a 3 and a 3, so 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, D3. No, sorry, they're okay. So he's got 2 attacks. The first one is 4 attacks, hits on a 3, wounds on a 3, -1 rend, 2 damage, and then his next attack, were his fangs, hits on a 3, wounds on a 2, -2 rend, and D3 damage. The Flesh Eater Court Wizard casts a spell within 18 inches of him. He gets to reroll all failed hit rolls. And yeah, he can be quite nasty. I mean, probably the worst thing about him is that he's got a 5-up save, but 5-up save is not too bad. It could be a 6-up save. But the fact that he adds so much to your army by reinforcing, bringing back all these models, like bringing back like a Crypt Horror, that's a 4-wound bloody model. And he has the potential to, bring back 6 a turn, and that's very unlikely. But he usually brings back a couple a turn. And the other nice thing about him in the new edition is that he has got 8 wounds. Like I said, he's a pretty solid character, but he's not a monster. So he will benefit from that, I believe it's called the Lookout Sir ability with enemy shooting. So yeah, being able to summon one of those for free, like I started this conversation by saying, is pretty good. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, I really like his healing ability. when I was my friend had one too, and he rolled well on the healing thing, and he summoned, I think it was 3 or 4 horrors back to a unit. I was like, oh my god, I thought I was almost done with them.
Oh yeah,
Why don't you
that's horrendous.
explain? I'm not too familiar. Can you explain how the healing back works?
Yes, so if I take the Vargol for example, because he can heal everything, um, so he will roll 6 dice in his hero phase for the Vargolf, and then for every 2 or more, he can add 1 crit ghoul to a unit within 10 inches of him. For every 5 or more, he can add either 1 crypt horror or 1 crypt flare to a unit within 10 inches of him. So what I generally do is take 2 Vargolfs, and then what I did in my crypt flare army was I took 2 Vargolfs and a crypt flare courtier, or crypt infernal courtier I believe it's called. So I was rolling 18 dice to bring back my flares. And I was averaging, I don't know, probably about 6 flares a turn, something like that. One time, I brought back none. One time I brought back, like 11. So it is. I'd say with Fleshy Courts, the biggest thing with it is it's a measuring game. You always have to make sure you're in range of each other. If it's just so you get the 6-up death save, or I think the courtier save is called now, or to bring back these models, it's very much a measuring army. So you've got to make sure everything's in range. But if it's in range, your opponent's going to absolutely hate you, because like I said, that time I brought back like 11 flares, I believe it was. That's 11 full-wound models. So that's 44 wounds you just brought back for free. And this is before any changes to summoning, and it's still the same. So what did happen back then, particularly if you're playing against heavy shooting armies or just armies that had a little bit of shooting, the enemy would just snipe out your heroes as quickly as possible, and then your army would just fall apart because all your other guys have like 5-up or 6-up saves. But now it's going to be a little bit harder to do that. And like we're saying about the Vargol, something else I've got to mention is if he kills anything at the end of the combat round, combat phase even, he heals D3 wounds. So
yeah, that healing back is awesome. Like I said, it happened with the horrors really badly for me. They were fighting spirit hosts, and I was like, oh man, spirit hosts are the kings of the long drawn battle. And then he was like, nah, horrors are pretty good. I was like, nah, no way. And the horrors were just crippling the spirit hosts. And it's funny because before second edition, I was not a fan of horrors because of the rend. I was like, why would you bring them? They have no rend. But their battle line, the 2 damage and then potentially 3 damage. That's really good for like fighting other battle line things, or even they're pretty durable. So just keeping them coming back, like I said, it's just the long game. It's just they're really good for that. The healing also helped a lot with the ghouls. Hit a unit of 40 of them, and after every combat phase, I was like, all right, I'm gonna wipe them out this turn, and then like almost all of them would die. Insane bravery, and then the next turn he would heal like half of them back. I was like, oh, okay, I got to put more effort into these things.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. For example, like when I've been to tournaments and stuff with Fleshy Courts, I've never taken a horde army with Fleshy Courts. What has been quite traditional to take loads of ghouls and use as like ghoul patrol battalion. But I've always taken an elite army, so like horrors or mainly flayers. And I always start out the game generally outnumbered by the enemy, maybe like 2-1 or maybe even like 3 or 4-1. But generally by the end of the game, I have more models than the enemy. Because they are I haven't played every single army in Age of Nagash, so I can't say for certain, but from the ones that I've played or played against, they are certainly the most grindiest army possible. And now even more so with the fact that it's harder to get rid of those characters, bringing back those models in every one of your hero phase. So I'm really excited about how Fleshy Courts are going. And like I said, I usually basically just took Crypt Flares, but now I think maybe Crypt Horrors might be better in the new edition. It'll be interesting to get some light on those, because I've got 9 of them, and then I've already got like 3 on sprue ready to go. So yeah, be interesting times for them.
Yeah. What was I gonna say
about them? But talking about Cryptors again, like I was saying before, with them being able to do 2 damage each with their attacks, potentially 3, and they have 3 attacks each if they don't get given any more by other means. And they get to reroll all failed hit rolls. That's really, really good. And especially how there's the spell from the Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon, which I can't remember exactly what the range is. It's either, I think it's like 8 or 10 inches. But he casts this spell, I think it's called Feeding Frenzy, and every Flesh-Eater Court model within, like say, 8 or 10 inches of him gets to reroll failed wound rolls, I believe it is. So if you want to, that's the abhorrent Ghoul King on the Zombie Dragon, you can, if you focus a little bit of effort on it, you can make your unit of Crypt Horrors reroll all failed hit rolls and failed wound rolls. Just in case.
Yeah, right. That's pretty solid. Yeah, Flesh Eater Courts seem like they got a pretty big boost. I'm happy for that.
Yeah, which is nice, and it's not even that they had too much changes to themselves. Like we're saying, they can do like the summoning for free now, which is huge because huge in a really nice way personally for me, because the summoning before, it was cool, but I never personally did it because I'd rather just not chance it trying to bring on models onto the board. I'd rather just have the safety in knowing that I'm not going to miss out on any of my army. I can deploy it on the board, and if the enemy kills my characters, that's not going to stop me bringing more models on. But the nice thing about it now is you don't have to pay points for it, so you're going to do it, and it's going to make the game a bit more interesting. And so apart from that, Flesh Eater Courts, they haven't really changed that much in the new edition, but because the core rules have changed slightly, it's massively impacted on them in a positive way. So they're sort of finding their feet again in the new edition, which is nice.
Yeah. I do have another question about the courier ability. That's the one that's it heals back, right? That's what's do you roll the die before you choose the target, or do you roll the die and then, like for the Vargulf, can I heal back ghouls and the horrors if I roll right?
Yeah, you roll the dice and then you pick.
Okay, awesome.
So it's not even like, I'm going to really risk it and try and go for Crypt Horrors when you could really bring back your ghouls as well. But you think, no, I want my Crypt Horrors, and then you roll loads of like 2s and 3s, what could have brought back your ghouls, but you've already picked your Crypt Horrors, so tough luck. It's not like that. You can just pick and choose when you roll the dice.
Man, Vargulfs are really good then, and they're only like 20 points more than the Flare or Horror version.
Oh yeah, they're only 160 points.
Yeah, they're really good.
They almost make the Horror version not look very good.
Yeah, I looked after I looked at the points. I was like, wow. I was telling my friend because he's still kind of starting up with Warhammer, but I was like, I don't know if it's really worth taking the Flare or the Horror version, the Grand Courtier or whatever he was, because it's only 20 points more for the Vargulf, and I think you had 20 points left over, so just take him, and that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna take 2 or 3 Vargulfs, I think, next time.
Yeah, I think Vargulfs are definitely better. I mean, I suppose the trade-off you got with, like, I don't know, let's take the Crypt Haunter Courtier, so the Horror Courtier for an example, is he's 20 points cheaper. And instead of having a 5+ save, he's got a 4+ save. He's got 3 attacks that I believe are force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, 3 damage. And then he's got another attack that's 2 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, 1 damage. And he always heals a wound in your hero phase because of royal blood. Essentially, he's drinking vampire blood, and that's how he's healing. So, he's not bad. He's got a couple of things that makes him better than the Vargulf, but I think ultimately the Vargulf, he's just all round a lot better. Yeah, he's not healing 1 wound in your hero phase, but if you make sure he kills something, which he will be, he heals D3 wounds. But the problem with that before is that you had to get him into combat. I like to try and keep him out of combat to keep him alive for longer, so he could bring back my horrors or my flares. But now, doesn't matter how close he is to the enemy, as long as within 3 inches of one of your units with 3 or more models, which, crypt flares or crypt horrors, their minimum size is 3, so you will be doing that. As long as in range of them. In the enemy shooting phase, he'll be -1 to hit. So you don't have to be so scared now about bringing them up the board to do that damage to heal. So he's even just got more survivable. I mean, the Crypt Infernal Courtier, so the Crypt Flare Courtier, if you look at his war scroll, he looks really good. I think he has 4, I think maybe 5 attacks, and if he gets a 6 to hit, he does 2 mortal wounds. But to me, that sounds really good, but every time I've used him, he's never done any mortal wounds. So I don't know if that's just unlucky, but in my experience, yeah, the Varghulf's a lot better. Taking 2 of them is really good. Taking 3 would be really, really good. I do like the Terrorgeists and the Abhorrent Ghoul Kings on them, and the Zombie Dragons and the Abhorrent Ghoul Kings upon them as well. But I don't think they're essential in a Flesh Eater Court army. They look fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got like 4, but you can definitely get away with just using the Courtiers, because the damage dealing units can just be your Crypt Horrors and Crypt Flares.
Yeah.
It's one of those armies that, when you look at like how many boxes you need to build up an army, I think all the models come in like 3 different boxes. So it might not sound like they have a huge lot of unit variety, but for an army that doesn't really, well, when they got an update in Age of Sigmar, they didn't really get any new models. But saying that, they are so much fun to play. Even if it looks like they only have like 3 different units, they are really, really good, and there's so much synergy there. There's a lot to them. So that's why I really like them.
What do you mean they didn't get new models? The Crypt Flare is brand new, buddy. It is a completely different head on that model. It's brand new.
It's a completely different head, isn't it? I knew like someone back in my store, it's not there anymore, but it used to be a big Vampire Count player. And when they first came out, I was speaking to him, and I was like, well, at least you can build them in different ways now. And he was like, oh, I got so bored building like Crypt Horrors before, I just ended up building them like that anyway. So I've already got like 6, and I was like, oh, fair one. Yeah, I mean, I should be appreciative that we got a new War Scroll. That was very nice. But to be honest, I mean, always it would be nice to have new models for your armies, but I'm in no rush for new models for Flesh Eater Courts, because they work very well how they are, I think. And they've got 2 different behemoths. They've got 2 different elite units. The Crypt Flares and the Horrors, and then the Crypt Ghouls. They're basic guys. Yeah, they've got a 6-up save, but they're pretty good anyway. So I think they're a nice sort of solid army. Again, they suffer what a lot of armies in Def do, with lack of shooting. But the best shooting they've got probably is from the Zombie Dragon, or arguably the Terrorgeist. But the thing I like about the Zombie Dragon is, I believe it's a 9-inch range, pick an enemy unit. Either it's a 3 to hit or 4 to hit. If the enemy unit you're picking has got more than 6 models, you hit anyway, basically. Wounds on a 2, -3 rend, d6 damage.
What's the range on that?
9 inches, I believe.
That's pretty good. I was trying to help my friend with different strategies, and I was thinking maybe the Royal Menagerie would be fun, and then so you get 3 Terrorgeists, and then because you could do the artifact as -2 bravery, and then you could do like maybe Ravanax Smashing Jaws, and they're really expensive, but I really like them. The Morghasts, -1 bravery, so you can be -4 bravery to your target, and then just scream at them with 3 Terrorgeists, and even if they're leadership 10, you're doing on average d6 mortal wounds to them, effectively.
Oh yeah, that could work well, and it could be horrendous. I mean, something what I did with my Crypt Flares. So I worked them as my I had a Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, and yeah, he had the artifact to make the 6-inch bubble around him, -2 to bravery, and that worked beautifully because with the Terrorgeist, you pick an enemy unit within 10 inches, you roll a dice at this, when your Terrorgeist is on full health, you roll a dice, you +6 to it. Difference between that result and the enemy's bravery is how many mortal wounds they took. But as I was taking loads of Crypt Flares, which I like the Terrorgeist, but instead of rolling a dice and +6, you roll a dice and +1. Sounds a lot weaker, but if you were playing against Orcs or something, or Skaven, which did happen, and you make them like bravery 4, and then you've got 21 Crypt Flares, and every 4 you get is doing a mortal wound to them, every 5 you get is doing 2 mortal wounds, and every 6 you get is doing 3, and then you've got a Terrorgeist as well. Yeah, many dead rats.
Yeah.
So it's something you can really, really play on, minus in the bravery and the Flesh Eater Court army, and that's one of the things that drew me to them, and also the Crypt Flares as well, with their anti-bravery shooting, is because bravery is something I believe a lot of people overlook in Age of Sigmar. because they look at it as in the battle shot phase, and if they're really worried about bravery, you know, they can do inspiring presence. But because there's quite a few attacks, and more so now than ever, that depend on the enemy's bravery, it's really quite a good thing that you could take advantage of, what the enemy might have not noticed themselves.
Yeah, in every one of my armies, I always, just for fun, make like an anti-bravery army. Like for Seraphon, I did it with death, and then I never use it because I'm always like, well, they could just do inspiring presence, and then this whole thing is just pointless. Yeah, like things like the shriek, the Terrorgeist scream, makes sure that you can do damage even if they have insane inspiring presence or whatever. Yeah, just enforces the damage. Nighthaunt, I'm really excited for the Shriek Guard. I think that's what it's called. The Shriek Guard battalion that lets if you're within 6 inches or maybe 3 inches of the Murmlorn Banshees or the Dread Scythe Harridans or the other Banshee, the Tomb Banshee, they can't use Inspiring Presence, which, oh my god, I can't wait for that. That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, that's definitely the battalion I want to build, because it's just going to be so fun. I don't even know it's the best one, but it's just going to be so fun to play around with that. And then also with that, if they're within 6 inches of those models, if they roll 1 for battle shock, they have to reroll it.
Yes.
So I could just imagine the enemy. I don't know. They have a unit of Kern of Hunters or something, and it's a big unit, and you've done so much damage to them. They have to take a battle shock test, and they think, "Oh, I'm going to automatically pass it." Nope, you can't do that. Okay, I'm going to roll a dice. Oh yes, I rolled a 1. Going to re-roll that. I would do that, and I'd play so many games just for that one moment to happen.
Yeah.
It would be so fun.
Oh yeah, that would be good. And also forcing, I don't know if it's all demons, but Nurgle demons, their standard bearer, I think, lets them heal back on a 1 for the bravery test, battle shock test. Yeah, you're gonna have to re-roll that, buddy.
Yeah, re-roll that. Yeah, it's all the teams, isn't it? It's like oh, I remember that traditionally with like pink horrors and stuff, where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna pick a 1 for that. Yeah, you can re-roll that, please.
Right. Oh man, it's gonna be so much good, so much fun.
And then yeah, it'll be really good. Also, they are probably. I mean, I'm gonna say I love all the new Nighthaunt models because I really do. They're really nice, and there's too many of them to buy, build, and paint. It's such a shame, but all the new Banshees are probably my favourites because they probably look the most creepiest out of all of them. Yeah, so the Banshee aesthetics, and especially the ones that haven't came out yet. What are they called again? The ones with like sides for arms.
I think it's Dread Scythe Harridan. It's a Harridan. Yeah. I know that.
I think that sounds about right. But for me, they look like something out of Silent Hill or like Insidious, like a proper like horror film. Because just look really, really creepy. That to me, that aesthetic is really, really nice. Because quite frankly, I find that quite scary, and that's why you sort of respect it a little bit.
Yeah.
They've definitely overtaken the Mongol for me in like the creepiest Age of Sigmar model, and the battalion it's more. I can't remember how many points it is and stuff, but it's more than reasonable to do. It's not like one of these battalions was like, oh god, I'm going to have to paint like 100 models or whatever to get that. It works quite well, which is a small amount.
Yeah, it's actually kind of an expensive battalion. I think it's one of their most expensive, but I think it's one of the best, and it has a very low tax. It's 21 models total. It's not even that. It's 20. Or it's less than that because it's the 2 units of Banshees, 2 units of Harridans, and then a Tomb Banshee, and they're all cheap units by themselves. I am going to absolutely take 4 Murmlorn Banshee or 12 Murmlorn Banshees in one of those units, but other than that, it'll be cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wish those the last Banshees come out, the Scythe ones. They should come out by now. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be out already.
I thought they would be in this week's pre-orders, but they are. I'm not saying there's not enough stuff coming out, because there's, like I was saying just a moment ago, there's too much. But unfortunately, like one of the models I really wanted is not coming out for a little while. Yeah. But I will also say I can't remember their name, but the Nighthaunts, like Hex Knights. That's what I used to call them before they got their proper name. Mm-hmm. The hero versions that have came out, they're mounted heroes.
Dreadbarrow.
That sounds about right.
Something like that.
Yeah, they are. I remember when I went to I wasn't going to buy them because I didn't have time to make them and anything, but I was going to have a look online to see how much they were, and it was like £15 for 2, and I was like, Okay, I definitely imagine them. We're going to be about 40. Imagine them to be, like 20 or at least like £30 for two. So I'm very happy with £15 for two very nice looking models.
I was
It's probably the.
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's probably the best price thing I've seen from Games Workshop for a long time.
Yeah, I was kind of confused by them because I thought they were a unit. I thought that was like
Yeah,
a
I thought they were
monstrous
going to be a unit
cavalry
as
unit.
well.
Yeah, and then they even released them in boxes of two, and I was like, more so, like, yeah, it's a unit. And then you look at the scrolls, like, oh, it's a hero. What's going on?
It's unfortunately, like I said, they're really good value for money. I haven't bought them, but they look like they're really good value for money. They're awesome models. Unfortunately, they're all looking the same way, but they're awesome models. Um, but they feel like they just fit an other role in the Nighthaunt army, just another cheap hero, which I haven't really looked through the rules too much, if I'm honest, but I don't know what their purpose is. I mean, they're like a fast responder because they are quite fast, but I'm not too sure what they do
So
because they only have one damage attacks.
yeah, so what I was thinking about using them with, in that one battalion with the black coach, you can take up to two of them, and then they'd be +1 to charge. You could do the chronomatic cogs and speed up time for another +2. So they could, and then they can teleport in the movement phase, and then like it's not like chameleon skinks where they go off the table and then next turn they come in. This guy teleports in his movement phase. He goes off and on in the same movement phase. I'm almost positive on that. And then you can drop him 9 inches away, and then he's potentially +3 to charge. That's pretty decent. And then he's a leader, so he can reroll his charge if he needs to. I think he would be very good, and he's fairly cheap. I think it was 100 points. I think he'd be good for like just if the opponent leaves a hole in their deployment zone or something, you can like teleport behind it and like hit a support character or something like that.
Yeah, that's very true. And I said they only have that one damage attacks, but of course, if they do charge, they get to like add one to their sword, whatever. I think it's called a dreadblade. So now that becomes like a weapon with 3 attacks and do 2 damage. So they are actually, I'll take that back. They are quite good in offensively if they can get that charge in.
Yeah, the first time I saw him, I was like, man, they're a support character, or they're a character, but they don't offer any support, and every other character offers like amazing support abilities. So
Yeah,
I was almost instantly just underwhelmed by them. But the more I thought about them, the more I think they have very specific synergistic possibilities with like hex race. Even I had an army. I was thinking about giving this blade, the Harrow thing, the leader we're talking about, give him the pendant, and then put him with some hex race, and then the hex race just like blast off and just run over a unit and do mortal wounds, and then the Harrow teleports over there, so the next turn they can do the same, and they can also maybe give him like ruler of the spirit host so he can heal back hex wraiths. He's just a very mobile character, so you can use it for command abilities, or maybe the ruler of the spirit host, or even pendant of the night felt wind. Just trying
that's
to
right.
get him exactly where you need him, where that aura.
That's very true. And if you compare them to the other, like mounted similar hero for the Nighthaunt, Night Shrouds, they are 40 points cheaper as well. So for that role, like you just described, they're better suited to it because they can, that it's cheaper for points really, and they do a similar thing. But this guy can teleport, which, like you say, if there's gaps in the enemy's army or the enemy's territory, he can like just pop up there, which it just gives the Nighthaunt more options. If they need when they look at the options and contingencies, this is another thing they've got.
Right.
They can pick for, if the situation arises.
Yeah, it's kind of the closest thing they can get to like range attacks, kind of like, because they'd have the chain gas, but like they don't have any way to. I mean, they can teleport their guys, but they don't have a way to give them plus to charge in a lot of cases. But with the Harrow in that battalion with the cogs, it's pretty +3 to charge when you're 9 inches away is almost not guaranteed, but is very, very likely.
It's the average on 2 dice, being a 7. It means I was going to say you should get the charging, but this being Warhammer means you probably won't, and you get double.
Right. Well, you can still reroll
But
it though.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's safe to say that there is a chance of you getting the charging
Yeah.
at that.
Speaking of shooting attacks, I'm looking at the box right now. It just reminded me. Who the hell is Crawlock the Jailer? They have this model for him. Who is he? There's no rules for him.
What?
The chain gassed box comes with another Spirit of Torment with a name, but he's not in the book. I didn't read through the fluff to see if he's just mentioned in the fluff, but you get this box of Spirit Torment and 2 chain gas. The Spirit Torment is named Crawlock the Jailer. I've never seen it in the book though.
Crawlock the Jailer. Oh. I can't see him in the points section of the book, so I just got it open.
Yeah, he's not in there. He's not. He doesn't have rules. I don't know if he just has a fluff page or something, but never seen him.
Was he Spirit Torment? Is he?
Yeah.
Maybe they just gave one of them a name.
God, that'd be so confusing.
Yeah, that is a little bit weird. Yeah, maybe it's like that. Maybe it's in the book. I've read a bit of the lore of the Nighthaunt book, but only like the first couple of chapters, so I haven't came across them yet.
I do wonder, in one of the battalions in the Chain Guard, which also I want to say is probably the best battalion in there, except maybe the Shriek Guard. The Chain Guard is the one with all the chain rasp hordes. It mentions a spell that is not in the book, and in the errata or designer's commentary or whatever, they mention that spell is from the Games Workshop Anniversary Guardian of Souls. So maybe there will be rules released for this Crawlock guy later on. Maybe there will be like an addendum or something to the Nighthaunt book that they just didn't want to release yet. I don't know.
That's true. That could be coming out. Unfortunately, I won't be getting that anniversary guy for a while because like my store's birthday is March, so be waiting a little while. But it could be to do with that, maybe. Let's just look at it as another mystery that is yet to be unravelled before us.
Yeah,
I think. Something I will just say on the topic of like battalions and stuff. The Nighthaunt, they've got quite a few battalions. You know, it's quite. I remember when I first looked at the book. Haven't read through them all and compared them yet, but I think they've got a healthy amount of battalions. I mean, some armies that come out literally only get given like 3, so I think they've done well there. And they don't. Their battalions aren't the cheapest, but they haven't really got any, ridiculously expensive battalions, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and they all seem, except the battalion of battalions, which I hate those, but
Yeah,
other
that's
than
right.
that one, I think they all have a use. There's only one that I think is kind of, or maybe 2 that I don't really like that much, but a lot of them, they have a use. They have, you can build your army around it. They got a fun little extra thing to it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that's what I like when I look at doing a new army. Is that if they've got a Bassetome out, I will look at one of the battalions. Like for example, when I looked at Nighthaunt, I looked at the Shrieker host, and I think, yeah, that's what I want to build my army around. So I know what units I have to buy. I know what I want to do, and it just gives you a nice sort of blueprint, isn't it? Really.
Right. Yep.
What can we done? And yeah, I think like we're talking about characters and stuff. I think we're probably both surprised just how many characters the Nighthaunt have.
Oh my god.
Not just how many units, but how many leaders they have is phenomenal.
Yeah, and they all have a good support ability. Oh man, it's so crazy.
Yeah, there's not that many out there. It's like, to be honest, we probably just picked out the one where we're like that. The Dreadblade Harrow. We're trying to find a use for him, and like I think we were on the ideas of a use for this guy. And he, like we said, he's got a use, and that's probably the one we're sort of questioning out of all of them. Like, just having a quick look through.
Karen Wraith.
Cam Wraith. No, I like the Cam Wraith, so you can be quiet. The Cam Wraith, okay. In Nighthaunt, maybe not, but in Legions of Nagash, he is fantastic. You take a Cam Wraith with you, you give him the Grandhouse Guest. I think it's called like the Fell Lantern or something.
Mm-hmm.
Makes enemy units within 6 inches of him -1 to wound,
Oh
and
yeah,
you
I
stick
like
him
that
next to
one.
Nagash, and he's Nagash's best friend. He
Oh,
keeps him alive for ages.
man.
Um, for 60 points,
Yeah, that'll do that.
you can't complain. 60 points, 3 attacks, only 6 to hit. That's 2 more wounds.
Yeah,
I'll take that very much.
yeah, I shouldn't complain about a 60-point hero.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Compared to the Tomb Banshee, maybe the Tomb Banshee screaming thing is a little bit better, but that shows, isn't it? It's like joking around and stuff, but like maybe the Khan Wraith is not as good compared to some of the other ones because they just add that much more to the army.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice, and without spending too much time looking at any particular Nighthaunt model, there's not really a model there that I don't like the look of.
Yeah, I agree.
There's always some armies who think, oh yeah, they are really nice, but I don't really like the aesthetic that character has or whatever. But these guys, they're all themed really, really nicely.
I like also that the Shrieker Guard. I kind of like having the option to make like almost all female army. I mean, the Chain Raspuards are kind of androgynous. There can be either, but having everything else be female or women, I think that'd be cool. Have Lady Olander leading them. We haven't even talked about Lady Olander. She's so cool.
Yeah, I think agreed. Having a army that you can base around females, very cool. I mean, for my death and like my soul blight, I go for like a Larmian theme to have that there.
Cool.
And for the new Stormcast, I'm going to see what I can do on trying to make that bit unique in that way, because they've got all the lovely new sculpts. And then yes, talking about the new Mortark, yeah, she is good. Once you understand, she's not too tall. She is very good. I think the only criticism I have about her though is her, the sort of banshees that are holding her books.
Yeah.
I think they are maybe a little bit too big. They set the size comparison off a little bit for me.
Have you seen her in real life? I've not.
I've not seen her in real life, no.
In those pictures, I really hope it's just the pictures, but I think those banshees look kind of goofy. That's like one of the very few things I don't actually like about the Nighthaunt new sculpts. Love Lady Olander, but those banshees, I think their face looks kind of goofy. I really hope it's just the pictures, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not. Just having a quick look. I don't think their faces are the same as the Dreadsight. No, the Dreadsight are a bit different. Yeah, I think maybe I might be wrong, but maybe just have Spirit Hosts holding those books and stuff like they did with similar thing with Nagash. But no, she's good. Her rules are quite nice as well. She's nice, and she's not too expensive in points. There's nothing in this army that you think, oh bloody hell, I would like to take one of those, but it costs 600 points. I mean, I'm not really going to take it that much in a competitive game. The most expensive thing I believe in this army is the Black Coach.
Yep.
I believe 280. Yep.
And actually, I don't think I will be using the Black Coach a whole lot.
Is this out of spite of what it used to be like?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I haven't.
No,
used it,
yeah,
obviously, but I think the best thing about it is the healing ability, which I don't want to pay 280 points for healing.
I agree. I think right. So what I will say about the Black Coach is it's a lot better than what it used to be. It's been made good, but maybe it's a little bit too expensive now for what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because its attacks are still nothing really to, write home about. It's ways it can advance through the levels of the. Is it the Invocation of Death? I think it's called.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the leveling system it has. That is a lot better now. The abilities it grants are so much better. But I think instead of 280 points, I mean, I haven't used one or four against one, so I can't say for certain, but maybe 200 points, 220. I think the Mortark of Grief is better. Obviously, the Mortark of Grief has got less wounds and stuff, but I think it adds more to the army. Not just the Mortark of Grief, but I think the other characters add more to the army, particularly the Craven King. I do like him.
Oh, I think he's actually the only model. Now that I think about it, he's actually one. I like him a lot, but I don't think is very good at all.
His attacks are good.
Yeah. And that
Um,
command point thing. Now that I know how important command points are to Nighthaunt, maybe that is more important than I was thinking.
yeah, I think command points are good. For me personally, my favourite model though out of all of them has to be the Grim Hauler. Is it?
Oh, really?
What's his first name?
Reichnor.
Reknor. Yeah, he is. He's my favourite model out of all the new Nighthaunt stuff. As a hero, because damn that like undead Pegasus or whatever you want to call it is beautiful.
Yeah, I love the candles on his head. That's so cool.
Yeah, and then the candles have like rules as well.
Yeah.
It plays so nice, and like I've only read a bit about his lore, but how he was um he spent most of his life, trying to prevent death, and then because of that, Nagash has elected him as one of his lieutenants in his Nighthaunt army, which is cool. And I think what's been nice and has been shown off rather recently, and in particular in the new edition with the Stormcast new army and with the Nighthaunt, and probably in particular with the Nighthaunt because there's quite a few of them. These named characters, named characters are coming back. Not the ones from the old world, but like new ones, which is very nice. I mean, yes, there is the casual armor. It's like, in games you want to be competitive, all that sort of thing. They can't take artifacts, so I'd rather just take a normal version, if there is one, and give them an artifact because it tends to be better. Like if we look at a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, people say they'd rather just take a normal one rather than Prince of Hordre, because a normal one can be buffed up essentially. But it's nice to have these characters, it's what builds the narrative, I think, behind the game. I think that was one of the problems for me when Age of Sigmar first started, is that there wasn't really any name. Well, when Age of Sigmar first started and got rid of all the named characters, when they were all gone, you couldn't really use them that much anymore. Like in the first General's Handbook sort of stage, it was missing that name character. You couldn't really tie yourself down to a character and you think, oh, he's awesome. Like, Vlad von Carstein from the old world. You didn't have that, or like Karl France or Tyrion. It felt like it was lacking a little bit, but now, like I was saying, there's just so many of these characters now that you can like read more about, and you think, okay, I'm going to base my army around something that's said about him and the narrative, and it just gets all the creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
I find.
I don't really see why we need death special characters when we have 20 Stormcast special characters. Like, don't you want to use all of them first and discover the story of all of those characters? Like that
No.
one that looks like the guy from The Room with the long black hair. Like, don't you want to just create a narrative around that guy?
Maybe I'll take what I just said back. Yeah, the Stormcast, they do have a little bit, maybe too much, maybe even spoiled potentially
Possibly.
in characters.
Possibly.
It would have to be investigated further, I think,
Yeah.
on more lines of inquiries. But I can't say too much about Stormcast now because I like them, so I have to sort of shush that.
Traitor!
A little bit, yeah. I know. It gets to the point when you've cut up, I don't know, about 15 of them. I've literally bought about 25 Liberators or 30 Liberators from eBay and cut them off as basing material for my flesh eaters. And then it gets to the point that actually maybe I'd like to paint a complete one. And I did, and it turned out I quite like painting them. So yeah, but yeah, maybe the Stormcast, like I say, they've got about 20, maybe 30. Maybe 30 might be a good number for them to make, and then
they can
then
they can work on the stories for other armies.
Or the stories for more Stormcast heroes first.
That's true, yeah. Because there's always new chambers, buddy. There's always new.
There's always, I mean, that trailer they came out with, I mean, I thought that was quite funny. But they have admitted now. It's just like, what is it like? Sigma Maleege, you can't solve all your problems with a new chamber. It's like the hell I can. Just smashes his fist, open another chamber, and it's like, it's funny, but they understand now as well.
Yeah.
But this new chamber I do like, so yeah, it's and like talking about like named characters, if you take a step away from the Nighthaunt, the for the Stormcast, they've got their new character on their mount, and I think it's called Aventus Firestrike,
Yeah.
the Magister of Hammerhall.
Right.
And even him, or the non-named character version, is particularly the paint scheme, the name characters painted in with the white beastie. That for me is hands down the nicest Stormcast model that came out to date. I know some people don't like him because they think it looks a little bit, maybe a bit too goofy and stuff, but which, you know, that's fine, I respect that. But for me personally, I really, really like it. And I think something that you mentioned earlier was the mount. It's got like essences and theme from, like, you know, Greek mythology, but it's not, as far as I'm aware, it's not tied down to any mythical Greek beast.
Yeah.
It's like a bit of a mixture, a bit of its own, which is really, really nice. And the detailing on its wings and the feathers, I don't know if that's painting, it might be painting, but it's outstanding, I think.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that model too. I do understand the criticisms, but I like the weird jaw or whatever people are complaining about because it makes it look unique.
Yeah, like I said, I do really like that, and yeah, I get it. Yeah, it does look like maybe it's George just hanging a little bit too loose and stuff, but, you know, that was me trying to do an impression of it, like a bit too goofy. But it's, for me, I like, it gives it character, and it's not goofy as in the spells for the Nighthaunt with having like huge skulls coming out of a Halloween casket. It's a different sort of goofy, and I've looked at it, and it's like in the UK it's £70, so quite a bit of money. So hopefully it's going to be fairly good size. But I will definitely be getting this guy, and I've, like I said, I've only like built and painted like one Stormcast model so far, so I should really build up some more battle line before I get this guy. But I'll probably have to get him next weekend because when he comes out, if there's one in the store, because I just need that model in my life.
Yeah, I can understand it.
Yeah. But yeah, so sorry, just going back to the Grim Hauler on his Undead Pegasus. What did you say his name was again?
I think it's Reichnor.
Reichnor. He's £25.
Yeah.
So I'm
cheap.
doing all these like you know, pounds and stuff, because I don't know what it is in the US, but really, really good value. Like, can't complain. I haven't bought one, but I can't complain against that price at all.
Yeah, even Lady Allender, even she's as cheap as that seahorse thing guy from Ideneth Deepkin, which I was kind of surprised by.
Oh right, yeah. I mean, I know she's smaller than the other Mortarks, but, you know, that's almost like half the price of them.
Yeah, right. No, it is.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know if she is, but I know the I can't remember keep forgetting his name, but the Grim Hauler.
Yeah.
He's easy to build, so that might be why it's cheaper, as it tends to be. But to be honest, if it's a named character and it's already based on scenery and stuff, I'm probably just going to build it how it comes in the box.
Yeah,
so,
right. That's a good point. If it's a special character, who cares if it's easy to build or if it is not posable?
yeah, so I always tend to like to be creative and like use a little bit of conversions and stuff to make your characters different. But if he's a named character, I'm only going to have one of him. I don't really care at that point.
Yeah. Unless
it's not like a Mortark or a Nagash or whatever. And especially how it's already on a very nice base. Yeah, and £25, like I say, to go to show for £25, you've got the I think the Grimghast Reapers of sorry, not the Grimghast Reapers, the Chainras Hordes, the you know, the basic guys, the Nighthaunt. I think you can buy them separately now, or they came on pre-order.
Oh, cool.
And it's like
nice.
But I think the problem is though is it's £25 for 10, I believe. Ugh. Which is no, I'm gonna double check this and go online just to make sure I'm right about this. But if that, yeah, it's £25 for 10, which I think is way too much money, especially how they and they're easy to build as well. How they sort of devalue them by putting them in the starter box.
Yeah, and especially a lot of time, like I was planning on bringing 80 of them, so that's gonna be annoying to buy 4 boxes of them because I have 40, but 4 more.
I think you probably might even be better just buying like Soul Wars and selling the other stuff off.
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to build these guys up, because I'm not saying they're not nice models or anything like that, because I do think they're very nice, and we've talked about these guys before. But particularly in the Soul Wars box, how they give you 20 in there, it's And then I £25 for 20. I thought, be fair enough. I think you get like 20 crypt ghouls for £25. 10 skeletons for like £15.50.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, then again, I think like 10 graveguard is like £25 or something. So, but that was priced a while ago. I mean, if I could have 10 of these guys or the guy on the undead Pegasus, I know which one I'd have.
Yeah. I do want to whine for a second about easy to build stuff.
Yep, go ahead.
I like the idea because for new players and for a starter set, yeah, do it, please. Like, get people into it more easily. Let them just clip the things out and put them together, and that's it. But like for experienced players or like people that have been modeling for a while, it's, at least for me, it was really annoying. I had to like clip out the little pegs, but I didn't do it on the first few because I didn't really know that was like a strategy. So like my Murmorns and my Glaive Wraiths are kind of like, there's a gap between them. The Malign Sorcery, I know everybody complains about the Purple Sun. I also complain about the Purple Sun because mine has gaps like all over it. And then even I was looking online at Mini Wargaming, their YouTube channel. They have a whole bunch of Age of Sigmar stuff. They have the Purple Sun in their intro, and they have these really cool pictures, and everything's painted up really nice. Even there, you can see some cracks because it's just it doesn't fit together very well. It's a very weird. If anybody's built the Purple Sun, at least for me, it was the first Warhammer model I've ever built where there's a like an internal frame, and then you put on the pieces on the outside. It was very weird, and it didn't fit together, and I'm whining.
That's okay. Everyone can whine every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, I haven't built it, but I have built some of the, like I said, the easy build ones, and there has been problems, and particularly before I knew, like, if you cut down the joints a little bit so they go together better. Before I knew that, yeah, it was the right pain. I wondered I'd be gluing them, and I wondered why the gap wouldn't close, but now I know. Like, what did you call the joints? What did you call them? Like the little sticks that.
It's like a little peg.
Yeah, peg. That's the better word. Yeah, like you trim them down, it makes everything easier. But like I said, before you know that, it's a right old pain to do. In all honesty, all I can say is at the moment with work, I don't actually have too much time for the hobby. So for me, it's nicer. But I knew if I had more time to do this, if I didn't have to do like lots of private work, and I focus on the hobby like I did a few months ago. Yeah, easy to build can get annoying, especially when you want to add some variety to the models. Yeah, it's a shame, especially like you say, when there's like I haven't built the new spells. Like you say, that Purple Sun, I've heard a lot of people complain about that, which is you buy it and you expect it to work as it would normally. And I know they say like, oh well, these easy to build, they're dry fit, so you don't have to glue them. Of course you're going to glue them. Unless it's not like a question of like, oh, in case you don't have any glue. You're going to spend, I don't know, how much does that? How much do the spells cost?
I think they were 80 in American.
Like $80. If you can afford to buy those for $80, you can afford to buy glue. It's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
And you would have known like the ones they would have shown off on White Dwarf and on the website. They would have all been specially like they would have cut down the pegs and used glue on all of those models. Yeah. They would have done them to an expertly standard. So it's a shame they can't. It's a shame they don't like say how they did it.
Yeah.
On the box rather than just saying, oh no, we did just do it by just pushing them together. No, you didn't, obviously, because you did it to.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bit annoying.
Two more gripes. Oh, and the purple sun. So you're pushing very hard on this thing to push it into place. It is spikes all over the surface, so your hands are like look like they're gonna bleed while you're done. Once you're done, because not only the big spikes, there's like little spikes in between that are like actually sharp. So like so it's kind of a pain to squeeze them together. I had like rubber bands, but I don't think they were strong enough. The other thing is I don't think I like colored plastic. I like for the spells it was kind of a cool idea, so you could just like put them on the table and your Purple Sun's purple already. But especially for like the easy to build Nighthaunt stuff, that's like this turquoise color, which it's actually a really cool color. But I'm priming
it harder to spray. Yeah,
I'm priming everything the same color, and I'm kind of relying on the plastic to be the same color. You know, like if you prime white on top of gray plastic, it primes very well. But if you prime white on top of turquoise, you're gonna have to prime a couple times. It's not gonna just go on a clear white. Like the gray kind of just gets lost in the color of the primer, whether it's black or white. It gets lost. But the turquoise, it's gonna shine through. I haven't done it yet, but it's gonna shine through.
Yeah, I know. That's what I meant. Like it's harder to spray on. I mean, I haven't done it yet because I haven't bought the separate easy to build kits, but I can imagine what you mean. And like you were saying, you can get it because it's like the purple sun's purple for it. It's on the table. The Nighthaunt look a bit ethereal before they're on the table because of that turquoise color. And it might be to do with like trying to get people into the game, so you know they don't have to paint the models before they play them. But realistically, I don't want to say most people who play paint their armies fully and stuff because they don't, but everyone tends to do some element of painting on their army. If it's a little bit or a lot or whatever in between, that's what a big part of Games Workshop is selling those paints. So I don't really know why they've. It sounds like a cool idea, you know, having these colored plastics, but in reality, it's not practical.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you don't paint them, and if you just like the color of how they looked, only the Murmorns and the Glaive Race are going to be this cool turquoise. The rest of it is going to be that ugly gray plastic. Like,
oh, exactly.
so
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even rely on that. You can't even rely on your whole army being the one color.
Yeah, and which is a shame, really. I mean, it probably didn't they do it for the Stormcast first, and the Stormcast were gold. Is that right? And the Khorne were red. Which, to be honest, I'm not too sure about Khorne, but if you're doing Stormcast and you're doing them in gold, I imagine you would spray them Retributed Gold or Chaos Black and then Retributed Gold on top. So you wouldn't notice so much, but obviously with these new ones, that's not really the case.
Yeah. And these complaints are, I mean, I still have complaints, obviously, but I like the malign sorcery. I like the easy to build stuff. I do get the point, and I'm glad new players have an entry point like that. It's good.
Yeah. I complain all the time and contradict myself all the time as well because I'm like, oh, you know, Stormcast and get everything, and they're like, so this really new Stormcast model came out and I can't wait to buy it. But you just said that you don't like them and there's too many models coming out, and surely if you buy the new models, they think that more people want new models. Yeah, but this new model's coming out and it's really cool. So yeah, everyone has gripes, like I said, but it's just the way it is. I think what it comes down to is Warhammer for a lot of people. It's not it's, you know, like I don't know. I don't really play like any sports for teams and stuff like football or anything like that. But if I was to use that as a comparison, football's just like it's a well-known sport, isn't it? Or soccer over there. It's a well-known sport that a lot of people do and whatever. But you know, like Warhammer is it feels like quite a niche hobby, and it feels like your own personal hobby. So and it does cost a lot of money. So when you spend a lot of money on things and it doesn't, what you get is not really how you imagined it. It does feel, you know, a little bit like you need to complain about it a little bit because it's really sort of like a little bit of an insult on your own little personal hobby. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it feels like I said, like someone compared to football, American football, whatever. It's like such a big thing. It's like everyone does it, but because Warhammer feels quite niche, it's like it feels a lot more. It means a lot more to you when something goes well or not well.
Yeah, and even more to that, I think nowadays it's good that we complain vocally, that not like just crying about stuff and just whining, but constructive criticism. Games Workshop is listening at this point. Like with all the complaints about the Purple Sun, I kind of doubt they're going to do something quite like that again. I bet they will fine tune it a little bit if they ever release something like that again.
Yeah, I mean, what I can say is at least it's not metal.
Yeah,
can you imagine if it was metal? Yeah, I mean, exactly. Games Workshop is so much more
receptive
to their customers' points of views than they probably ever have been before. I mean, obviously, I haven't been doing this since Games Workshop started, but from what I've heard, this is like the golden era a little bit. And like I was saying, probably, I don't know, about 5 months ago, something like that, when the Legions of Nagash Battle Tome came out. I think a little while after that came out, I did like talked about it and just saying like, is this all Def's going to get now? We've got this Battle Tome, which is lovely, but we're not going to get any models. Is that like, Def's moment? It's gone now. It's going to be a while until Def gets anything. And then I was saying that and I was whining about it. And then now we're knee deep in Nighthaunt stuff, and I'm saying it's too much stuff. So I can contradict myself continuously. So yeah, I agree with you, and I know where you're coming from. With like and you've got to be vocal, because it's complaining and what people call bitching's got a big stigma behind it, but it's to prove a point. It's not, you're not just doing it because you're bored. It's because you want Games Workshop in this case to hear what you want to say.
Yeah, sometimes it works.
And yeah, exactly. And if it's beneficial for you and them, it's like, okay, if they make the changes and they produce a better product, more people buy it, and less people complain, and then they make more money.
Yep. And
more people are happier. It just makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah, but yes, yeah. So much stuff. We just sort of started this video just sort of talking about the new changes, the new edition, and what's happened, and like what we've been up to, and then we've ended up talking about Nighthaunt, haven't we? And a little bit of Stormcast, and it hasn't even really scratched the surface of all the new stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but that's about all we got for today. Unless you have anything else to add, Age of Nagash.
No, I think that's it. We covered like what we've both been up to and what we think about the new edition, and now we both had a couple of games, and it's been quite nice that we both played against like different armies and like used different armies from each other. And I think by the time next time we have one of these Halloween chats, I don't know, like in the next month, there'll be plenty of more stuff to talk about by then. So I think we'll leave it here for now, I believe.
Right. Yeah. I do want to mention Age of Nagash and I are trying to work out the sound for recording together. So if anybody has suggestions, we'd really appreciate it. I hope the audio is good on this one. I know the last couple there was a little bit of a difference in quality, and that was kind of on my end. That was the problem. But I think this one will be better. I really hope it is. Please let us know if it's not, and let us know if you have any suggestions. Do appreciate that. But yeah, this is I'm the Twinnedcoot. This is Age of Nagash with me. We were talking about Age of Sigmar, kind of recapping Nighthaunt and 2nd edition. Like I said in the beginning, I'll have a link to Age of Nagash's channel in the description, and please check out him for some death content. I'm really glad to have you on the channel, and glad we could get a good talking in, because lots of stuff's been happening.
Yeah, thank you again very much for letting me on the channel, and like you were saying about the microphone issues, yeah, we do apologise if there was any problems with that before. What we're doing with this one, it's a little bit of a experiment, a little bit of a new way of doing it, so hopefully the sound quality will be improved slightly. Let us know, as Twinnedcoot said, if there's any advice you can give us. And yeah, so that aside, I thank you very much for letting me come on your channel again. It's been a pleasure as always, and I thank you guys very much for watching this. When this comes onto my channel, I will put a link to Twinnedcoot's YouTube channel in the description, so again, make sure you check that out to make sure you get all your advice on your warscroll reviews.
Great. Well, thanks for joining, thanks for listening, and happy wargaming, everybody.